Hi everyone, welcome back to English for You. I'm Pat.
And I'm Mike.
And we're looking at some fun facts about Queen Elizabeth II of the UK.
Okay.
I've got a few extra ones to throw in right here.
Please.
She technically became the Queen when she was up a tree.
Ah, she was at the Treetops Hotel in Kenya.
Yeah, and that's when her father died. She didn't find out until later. She got crowned later, but at that moment, the exact moment, she was in a tree.
Very, very interesting. And of course, she's been married to Prince Philip, her husband, the Duke of Edinburgh, for many years. Here's an interesting fact. She fell in love with Philip when she was 13.
Yeah.
I think he's like 5 or 6 years older than she is, right? And he was in the Navy, handsome young officer, and she fell in love. And they've been married for a very long time. So that's kind of nice.
But they kind of keep it in the family because, in fact, she and Philip are both second cousins and third cousins.
Really?
Yeah, the European royal families are kind of like this interconnected spider web. So that's the sort of thing that happens.
I also remember reading during World War I, the king of England and Germany and Russia, they were all cousins.
Yes.
They were, and they actually all look very similar.
Beards.
If you see pictures of them from that time. Here's another good one about Queen Elizabeth. You guys might know this one. She loves corgis, those cute little dogs. Yeah, a lot of people in Taiwan loves corgis. And also horse riding, and not just horse riding, horse racing. And I've actually heard that if she wasn't the queen, she would have a very successful career as someone who raises horses for racing, because she's good at it.
Yeah, and in the family as well, of course. I think Zara is it granddaughter?
Yes.
Or is it one of the other children?
No, granddaughter, Anne's daughter.
Who's the Olympic?
She was in the Olympics in equestrian events.
Racing,
That's right. Yeah.
There could be more we could tell you, but we need to get into today's article. So let's start day 2 right now.
Reading.
Fun facts. Chances are you'll never get to meet the Queen of England. However, in case you're lucky enough to have the opportunity, you might want to pay attention to her purse. It's been reported that the monarch actually uses it to give secret signals to her staff. You might notice her move her bag from one hand to the other. This means she's ready to end a conversation. Likewise, if she places her bag on the table, it means she wishes to leave the party. Another interesting fact about the Queen is related to animals. You may be thinking about her famous corgis, but we're actually talking about England's swans, all of which belong to the Queen. That's right. Starting from about the 12th century, the monarchy has claimed ownership of every swan in the UK. This was originally because swans were eaten at banquets and so had a high value. Swans aren't eaten anymore, though, and now it's even illegal to kill one.
All right, so let's learn more about the Queen and her birthday. Remember, we learned that she gets 2 birthdays because she's the Queen of England, of course, but also because she was born in April. The weather's not so nice, so they give her an official birthday in June when she can do some big outdoor events like Trooping the Colour. Now let's learn some more cool things about the Queen of England, Elizabeth II. Chances are you'll never get to meet the Queen of England. Yeah, most likely. When we say chances are, this phrase, we're basically saying it's very likely that. If you were going to bet money on this, it would be a pretty safe bet. But, if you're trying to bet if Pat or I or you or most people you know will ever get to meet the Queen, it's pretty safe that we will not get to meet the Queen. No, because she's, not going to meet that many people, and we're just sort of normal people.
A long way away as well.
That's true too.
And we use the phrase get to do something here. If you get to do something, you're allowed to, you're able to, you have the opportunity to do something, and it's a good thing. This is always used for a sort of a beneficial thing. Or, I get to sleep in tomorrow because I'm not at work. I get to have a 3-day weekend because of a festival.
That is
that
lucky.
Kind of thing.
All right. However, let's just say that you are lucky. It says, however, in case you're lucky enough to have the opportunity, you might want to pay attention to her purse. So let's say you're dating someone in the royal family. Maybe you're in a big movie and she's coming to see it, or you win an Olympic medal, or who knows, something special happens. Just in case you get to meet her. Just in case, this phrase basically means if this happens. It's probably not going to happen, but if this happens, and we usually say this when we're giving someone advice, when they're kind of giving them a warning or a recommendation, just in case you're in a plane crash, you might want to make sure you leave your bag in the plane when you run off. Don't do things like bring things with you. Just in case you lock yourself out of your house, you might want to leave a house key with a friend who lives nearby, right? This kind of situation would be unusual, maybe an emergency, but we're preparing for things that might not happen, but if they do, you would like to be prepared. So let's pretend you meet the queen. You're there. It's all very exciting. You don't want, that's right. You don't want to make any mistakes. One thing you could do is pay attention to the queen's purse.
Right, because if I save it from a thief, I'll be like a knight or something. No, it's not that. We'll get into why once we explain what a purse is. A purse could mean the kind of small thing that you keep your money in, but for women it often means their handbag.
Right.
So it could contain not only their money kind of keeping wallet, but a bunch of other stuff as well. As in this sentence, Molly always makes sure to have a small umbrella in her purse.
Ooh, that's a good idea.
To use the phrase from before, just in case it rains.
There you go. A good plan, Molly. All right, so pay attention to the queen's purse if you're ever lucky enough to actually meet her. Why would we give you this advice? Well, the article explains. It's been reported that the monarch actually uses it to give secret signals to her staff.
Ooh.
That is absolutely fascinating. Now, here we use this word monarch. What is a monarch? Well, we're going to find out right now. Yeah, so here we called the Queen of England the monarch instead of the queen or any other word like that. But that's totally fine because a monarch is a king or a queen. It's someone who rules a country in some way as a member of the royal family, but only the top member of that royal family. We wouldn't call a prince or a princess. Even the queen's husband would not be the monarch. There is only one monarch, either the king or the queen, the ruler of the country, a member of the royal family. That is what we will mean by a monarch. Yeah, now this is something that we've heard about the queen. An interesting thing is she's been the queen for a very long time, but there is a lot of stuff about her that we don't really know, right? They don't talk about it. They don't do interviews very much. You can ask these questions and they just go, So there are a lot of secrets, even now, about the Queen.
Yeah, and one of the things that's reported is she uses this purse of hers to send secret signals.
Interesting.
Here we're using secret as an adjective. If something is secret, other people are not supposed to or are not allowed to know about it. And we often put it in front of a noun. A secret room would be a room in a place that nobody knows about or only one or two people do, something like that. Secret signal is like, here, I'm going to do this, and if I do this, that means we need to leave or something like that. Here's another example. Meet me by the river and I'll take you to my secret fishing spot. So nobody else knows about it, only me, my dad, and now you.
Interesting. Okay. So yes, secret signals that the Queen might give to her staff, the people who work for her, but she does it by the things she does with her purse. It says you might notice her move her bag from one hand to the other. So she was holding the bag in her right hand and then she moves it to her left hand. It might look like something you would do, right? You're carrying a bag, you move it around, you get more comfortable, that kind of thing. But with the Queen, this could be a secret signal. What does it mean, though?
Apparently, as the article says, this means she's ready to end a conversation. So she's like, I don't want to talk to this guy, this former president of the US anymore. Somebody come in and, you know, help me get out of it.
Interesting. She has to be polite all the time.
Yes.
And even though she's the Queen of England, she can't just say, you're boring, I gotta go. No, she has to be polite. This is the way she gets someone to come along and say, Your Majesty, we have to go over here now. Oh, I'm sorry, I have to move on, she says. Likewise, if she places her bag on the table, it means she wishes to leave the party. Wow, not only is the person boring, the party is boring, or I'm tired and my feet hurt, I want to go home and watch TV. Whatever, likewise, in the same way. That's what this adverb means. We're kind of showing that there is a relationship, there are some similarities between these two things, so we often use likewise to begin the next idea, the next sentence to show, you know, both of these are secret signals, both of these involve her using her purse, and both of these are ways for her to get away from a situation she's not having fun with anymore.
It's very cool kind of spy stuff.
It is.
Maybe she was like a James Bond, like before Bond.
She has met James Bond.
Oh yeah, I've seen that. Okay, so we're going to move on now. We see another interesting fact about the Queen is related to animals.
All right, animals? Well, we talked about her love of animals, especially a couple of certain kinds. It says you may be thinking about her famous corgis. Yeah, these corgi dogs. A corgi is a breed of dog. It's quite small. I guess it'd be a small or maybe small medium-sized dog. They have short little legs, big long ears. They're often kind of a golden white kind of mixed color. Very popular breed of dogs. Very friendly, very affectionate and loving. And the Queen at sometimes had what, like 4 or 5 of them. She had a good number of them. So these are small dogs. I think sometimes they're also Welsh corgis.
They are Welsh. I think there's either Welsh ones or Canadian ones. They're the only kinds.
Okay. And I think maybe they were like hunting dogs back in the day. They could get into small holes and chase animals. But now people just love them and they love to have them.
Right. But we're not talking about corgis. The article says, but we're actually talking about England's swans, all of which belong to the Queen.
That's a lot of swans.
So in that sentence, we use the grammar point all of which. Of course, which, like in other kinds of clauses, it's acting as a pronoun for the previous object, in this case, the swans, and all of means all of the swans. So we could also use phrases like some of which, most of which, none of which, okay, which would indicate a different amount of that thing we're using which as the pronoun for. We could also use who or whom for people, all of whom, some of whom, most of whom. We don't use the pronoun that in this kind of structure. It's either who for people or whom, or which for other things. So, yeah, the Queen owns a lot of swans.
That's right, she does. I don't own a single swan, but that's okay because a swan is a very large water bird with a long neck. They're usually white, sometimes they're black, but they're usually white. They have orange beaks and a little black nose on top, and they're beautiful, right? People often think of swans as being very beautiful, very delicate, very graceful, that kind of thing. Of course, the ballet Swan Lake has all these dancers pretending to be swans. If you can kind of think what a duck is, and then a bit bigger than a duck is a goose, and then if you take a goose and make it really cool, like a fashion model with a long neck and graceful like a dancer, and turn it white, that's a swan. Yeah. All right. For example, there are many ducks swimming on the pond and even a pair of swans. Yeah, it's true. Whenever I see swans, there's always like 30 ducks and a couple of swans, and they're just like so much cooler than the ducks.
I think they mate for life. So
that's what they say.
Yeah, the swans will always be in a pair because they're like together.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Queen owns all these swans, and we see that's right, the article says. Starting from about the 12th century, the monarchy, which is the institution of the royal family, the kings, the queens, the monarchy has claimed ownership of every swan in the UK. This isn't actually 100% accurate. We will get to that in a moment. But what is important is the monarchy claims ownership. To claim something is to basically say it. You don't necessarily have to prove it. And it's often used with ownership. Like you say, that's mine. It's mine because I say so. I'm the king. I can do that kind of thing if I want. You could also claim things to be true without necessarily having to prove them. Like, oh, I claim I've been to like 18 different countries this year. Not true. Really? COVID, not happening. So, but I can claim it until someone says, you're wrong, you're lying. Here's another example of how we use claim to talk about getting possession of something. The old lady ran onto the bus to claim a seat for herself. She's like, I'm getting on there, that seat's mine. So all of this is about ownership.
Yes, and as Pat mentioned, often we claim ownership of something, as it says in the article. Well, ownership is basically when you own something. You have ownership of that thing, all right? Every time you go into a store and give them your money and pay for a thing, then you walk out and that is your thing. You have ownership of that thing. If you steal something from another person, or if someone runs up and grabs that thing you just bought out of your hands, well, you can say, hey, give that back, and you could get the police involved, and they could be charged with theft, with stealing, because you had ownership. They can't just take it away from you. So you can have ownership of something, or if it's just sitting there but it's yours, you can point to it and say, that's mine. I'm claiming ownership of that thing. It belongs to me. For example, this piece of paper gives you ownership of that piece of land. All right, you don't have to stand on the land the whole time and say, it's mine, it's mine. No, the paper gives you ownership of that land.
So why is this? How come the Queen gets all the swans?
That's right. And if someone sends me a swan for my birthday, is the Queen just going to show up the next day and say, give that to me?
It's mine.
Yeah.
Well, we find out why. This was originally because swans were eaten at banquets and so had a high value. So, yeah, everybody can eat pig and chicken and that kind of thing.
Okay.
But a swan, that's fancy food. So that's for the royal family.
I'm sorry then.
It's for a banquet. Yes, a banquet is a large, very fancy, elaborate, multi-course feast where you get lots of guests. They'd all sit down and servants would bring out loads and loads of food. There'd be loads of wine. The kind of stuff you see a lot on the Game of Thrones show. People having banquets.
That's right. Or maybe a big wedding dinner. We might call that a banquet.
Yes.
But you're right. The Queen's banquets, especially hundreds of years ago, would have been much fancier and much longer and much more expensive. And they would have served swan, which I've never had at anything, never mind a banquet. But of course, we're talking about the modern times now. It says swans aren't eaten anymore, though. The Queen has normal things like chicken or some steak or something like that. Not a lot of swan on the menu these days. Swans aren't eaten anymore, though, and now it's even illegal to kill one. Wow, never mind eating one, it's illegal to kill them, even though they're not eaten anymore. This adverb shows that something isn't true, it doesn't happen, it doesn't go on right now. It used to in the past, but right now it doesn't. Something changed, so something that was true, that did happen, does not happen anymore at this time. That kind of thing doesn't go on.
Yeah, and killing a swan is now illegal. It wasn't, but now it is. If something's illegal, it is not legal. It is against the law. It's a crime, and if you're caught committing it, you will be punished. For example, you could say, not only is it illegal to not wear a seatbelt in a car, it's also dangerous. So, yeah, you could get hurt, and if a policeman sees you do it, then it's against the law. You'll get in trouble. Now, I said I'm going to clarify this thing against swans. The monarchy, the Queen, they own unmarked kinds of swan called a mute swan in open water. So, if the swans have a little mark on their beak, that means they're privately owned by a farmer.
That can be my swan.
That can be your swan.
Okay.
So, people will go and mark certain swans in a river and say, these are mine. Also, if it's in a small pond or if it's at home, that's not open water. The Queen can't come and take it.
Or any swans living on top of a mountain.
Yeah, not many of those.
Not many of those.
Basically, if you see a swan in a river or a lake and there's no mark on its beak, that belongs to the Queen, and so it's kind of protected by this law that says you can't kill them.
I'm gonna have to give away all my swans now, I guess.
Yeah, you're in trouble. Queen's sending me round to get them back.
I spent a lot of money on those swans.
Well, that's what you're going to do in a moment, but we'll do our For You Chat question first. Let's go there now.
Can I own a duck?
For You Chat.
So our question is, if you had a chance to meet the Queen of England, what would you ask her?
Where are my swans?
Well, yes.
You took my swans, lady. Give me my swans back. No, that's a really good question.
Yeah.
What would She has seen so much history.
Right.
So I might ask her about some of the interesting people she's met. You know, what was Winston Churchill really like? Ooh, did you enjoy meeting the Beatles when they came here back in the 1960s? You know, I think I'd be interested in some of her experiences. I don't know if she'd answer the questions, though.
I'd kind of want to get a chance to sort of know her a bit, you know, ask her a few things like,
What's your favorite Game of Thrones episode?
Or what's, you know, do you care about soccer or those kind of sports? Are you interested? Do you like movies? What do you watch on TV? That kind of stuff. Like to actually find who is the person behind the public figure that is the Queen. What is she like reading?
Yeah.
You know, that kind of stuff.
Has she ever gone to McDonald's?
Right, yeah, maybe she's tried that. What is your favorite fast food restaurant?
Favorite kind of pizza.
Yeah, I'd also ask if I could borrow the crown jewels for a bit. You know,
Ooh, that's a good one.
dress up and look
Or maybe just ride
fancy.
around in a carriage for a while, one of those big golden carriages.
Some of that. But that's what we'd ask. What about you guys? What would you ask the Queen? Have a chat about it, and we will see you next time. For English for You, I'm Pat.
And I'm Mike.
And we'll talk to you again soon. Bye-bye.
Take care.
Vocabulary Review.
Purse. Alicia moved her keys, wallet, and phone out of her ordinary purse into a fancy evening bag. Secret. When Bobby was little, he had a secret hiding place under the stairs where nobody could find him. Swan. As we rowed the boat on the pond, we saw beautiful white swans swimming all around us. Claim. Tracy arrived early at the restaurant and claimed a table before her friends arrived. Ownership. The family-run store changed ownership when Mr. Smith sold it to a large company. Illegal. It's both illegal and dangerous to drive a car without your seatbelt on.
智慧小补帖
Monarch. Likewise. Corgi. Banquet. Anymore.
以上节目是由活用空中美语制作，活用空中美语杂志，请洽询全国各大书店。如欲索取试听教材，请来电02-2364-4000 02-2364-4000，或上网查询，网址是 www.english4u.net www.english4u.net